Where do you think we are with Bitcoin, with adoption, and kind of from a market structure standpoint?
So Bitcoin from a market structure has been incredibly bullish. The pattern now, the chart pattern looks very similar to a smaller version of the one from March to June 2020, where it exploded. We've had this lovely corrective phase. We see all the on-chain stuff, William Clemente and Willy Woo and all those guys showing that it's all going into good, strong hands. We had the China FUD. We've had a bunch of FUD. This usually, and there's no guarantees, usually October, November, December is ridiculously good, particularly at this point in the halving cycle. So structure, it looks amazing. So, okay, who are the buyers here? So most people who got into crypto came in via Bitcoin. That's always the case. It's the big daddy asset. And then people move out the risk curve, and that's pretty normal. So who's the next big buyer of Bitcoin? It's pretty clear to me who they are. It is the ongoing institutions. I mean, that just keeps going. And I think we'll see an acceleration in that, particularly if the price breaks out, because everybody's like sheep. They always want to follow each other. Secondly, it is the coming ETF. It's definitely going to, well, definitely, I don't know that, but I just have a very strong feeling it comes in the next, over this October, November, December period. And that will drive a huge amount of money in the space because it allows RIAs to allocate and ordinary individuals in a way that they can easily understand. And finally, I think we're starting to see noise from the sovereign wealth funds. So I know some of them, and I've talked about this before with you, is some of them are already allocated, but I think we're going to start to see more sovereign wealth activity in the space.
Ethereum and the Ether asset?
So Ethereum, again, the charts look absolutely astonishing. The on-chain activity, the adoption is by far the largest of anything in the space. So it's huge what's going on. The move towards ETH 2.0 means that, at a simple level, everybody's going to stake everything they've got to get it there. And so that takes all the coins off the market. There's about 11% of all ETH in circulation. So it's almost unbuyable. So you bring a whale into the market, the price just explodes. So I've never really seen a setup as good as this in that respect. So I think it's a very high quality bet for the time being because of all of this stuff that's either off exchange, being staked, and there's no free supply and demand keeps going exponential. So I like ETH overall. What's interesting is we're starting to see institutional adoption. So I spoke at Cowen's big event, and it wasn't about Bitcoin. It was solely about Ethereum, which took me by surprise. That's the first one I've done. It's kind of been referenced in other ones, but here I am now speaking to investment banks when they're asking me to come and talk about Ethereum and just skipping Bitcoin, saying, well, we assume you know Bitcoin, but here's another opportunity. So I think there's a lot more adoption to come in that space, and I think there's going to be an ETF there too. And again, with this really restricted supply that's going on because of ETH 2.0, I think it drives prices a lot.
When you think about the institutions that are thinking about or talking about Ethereum and Ether, is it because they've already allocated to Bitcoin, or do you see some of them coming in and they're basically actually skipping over Bitcoin?
I think there are some that are skipping over Bitcoin because they get their head around it in a different way, because they think of it as a way of playing the entire technology of the space. So then they don't, it's hard for many of these institutions to stomach the narrative, the Bitcoin narrative of a store of value that central banks are destroying the world and a lot of this stuff, because that kind of goes against a bit of their business model. But Ethereum is not as, it doesn't feel like it's attacking them as much, because it's like, here's a space and we're building decentralized finance on it, and everybody can participate. It doesn't feel that they have to change their internal narratives. So some are finding it just a bit easier to get their heads around what it is without kind of going against or kind of exposing the Wizard of Oz, which is the central banks and what they're doing to currencies overall.
We need a Bitcoin price prediction by end of year, and I need an Ethereum price prediction by end of year. What do you got for us?
I was doing some work on this on the weekend for Global Macro Investor. I'm kind of thinking, I'm kind of a little bit overly bullish right now. And I think the cycle, well, no, because that's not fair, because I was looking at the cycle itself. I think Bitcoin somewhere north of 200 and ETH closer to 15K. But I think we finished the cycle with Bitcoin close to 400 and ETH closer to 40,000.
All right. So you think by end of year, we've got Bitcoin 200K or so. We've got ETH at 15K. You think end of cycle, which in your opinion, it sounds like kind of February, March of next year.
Something like that, yeah.
Bitcoin's 400,000 and ETH is 40,000.
Yeah.